Were you a big fan of, concert going and stuff before, you started putting on the concerts?
Yes.
Like, so if I had to ask you, what was your favorite concert, your favorite live performance you've ever been to? Is there something that sticks out to you, something that comes to
That's a
mind?
hard one.
Something
That's
that
a
you
hard
did,
one.
something that you didn't produce, but something you went purely as a fan and you
I
showed
went to
up to.
so many shows. I was such an avid consumer of electronic music in my early 20s and saw some really outstanding stuff. Some things that really cemented my love for electronic music, though, were early days at Ultra Music Festival when Paul Van Dyke or Underworld was performing and headlining, and going to the Space Terrace in Miami and traveling around and following the European electronic DJs when they would enter the United States for the first time and see all their shows and watch the culture in North America started at an infant profile and then watch it become what it is today. I can remember watching my heroes in rooms with not very many people because there weren't that many people interested, and now today, it's pretty crazy to see what's happened.
Does it feel strange to see how EDM has been embraced? Because I knew when I started listening to electronic music like 10 years ago, I got put on to like Skrillex and Deadmau5 and Zomboy, and I felt like me and like a select group of my friends were the only people around me that were into it, and I felt like I couldn't listen to that kind of music around everybody. But since then it's changed and it's on the radio, you hear it everywhere.
That's right. I had the same thing happen with me and my, I'm quite a bit older than you guys, but, so for a much longer period before, I felt like I couldn't listen to it around everybody else. Unfortunately, being me, you'd have to listen to that anyhow here with me because that's what I was going to listen to. But sincerely, it wasn't everybody. It wasn't for everybody, and I mean, it's still not for everybody, but it's certainly for the majority, not the minority now.
It's kind of funny because you don't realize how big of a culture it is until you go to one yourself, because you can see these videos of these concerts, like, okay, that's cool, but like everybody has concerts, but there's something different about like the EDM fans, because I mean, I've been to an EDM festival, I've been to a rap festival, I've been to rap concerts, all of that, and it just kind of seems like everybody there is a little bit more invested in the music side of it. The dancing is a little bit different. The dancing is a little bit more upbeat and intense than it would be at maybe, let's say, a hip hop or a rap concert. Do you think that maybe that's kind of what sustained it into the growth of what it had today? It's like once you're in, you're in and you're in it.
I think there's certainly some truth to that, and yeah, you've got the general community for our events really comes hard, and they really anticipate those next events, and they come and they dance and party and love really hard while they're there. I mean, everybody comes to have a good time, and what's happening in Arizona is something that I've not seen happen in many other places, with the exception of California. Insomniac does an amazing job with all those events that create an amazing rave culture that spills over to Arizona. And here in the Southwest of the United States, I think we've got the best electronic music culture in the world.
So to frame that culture, what kind of production goes into making a festival like Crush? I'm talking like stage production. Do you see, specifically with Crush, we can be specific, are the attendees going to see something that's going to wow them when they show up at the festival?
I don't think there's something that really wows them. I mean, when it comes to producing these events, sometimes they sort of get a little, it's a little bit typical, if you will. Artist-writers require that we produce videos so that they can put their video content, and we do our best to fill in with props and decor and create a Valentine's Day environment, but it costs a ton of money to produce the event. But there's definitely some surprises, and it's going to be a really well-produced show, and definitely our best interpretation of Crush. So inevitably a lot will be wowed, but,
How does Rawhide feel about fireworks? Could we see some big explosions at the festival?
You won't see any big explosions this one because it's located inside a building, but it's Rawhide's okay with fireworks. We've done them there a lot.
Okay.
So when it comes to planning a festival, but when it comes to planning a festival itself, how early do you start with the planning? Is it like, okay, Crush is over, we're now planning for Crush 2020?
I mean, I've got offers for Decadence out. I've got I know who's playing Phoenix Lights next year, a couple of them.
Wow.
So it's a conversation that stretches years, honestly, when
Wow.
you're targeting an act and what they're going to do in the short time and what they're going to do over the next 2 years. You've got to really position that correctly if you want to get the.
Is that
what
hard to balance almost? Where it's like I have to think about Crush right now, but I also think about Decadence later. I have to think about Phoenix Lights later this year, and then also Phoenix Lights next year. Is that something that you had to learn to manage?
Yeah, it's definitely quite a bit to manage, and each year it grows, and we add more events and more obligation and responsibility. So the team grows, and but we've got a good handle on it. We got a really good team.
And sorry, one more question. Then you mentioned, you have to kind of interpret where this person going to be in 2 years, 3 years. Is there something that sticks in your mind that like you got to sign to your concert, one of your events 2 or 3 years out in advance, and then by the time they got there, they're way bigger than what you expected them to be, or something like that?
I mean, that happens in a 6-month period a lot.
Yeah.
You'll book someone, and then 6 months by the time the show comes, they'll have had music that's come out and it's done really well, or something's transpired, and they're a lot bigger deal than what you paid. And so, sometimes the act will be playing in a position on a stage, and they're actually bigger than that now. So, yeah, it does happen.
Okay, now I have some questions for you about Relentless Beats. I figure I'd take the opportunity since we got the chance. What separates you from your competition? I know Relentless Beats has a huge market in Arizona, and you mentioned how Insomniac has a huge grip on California, but how would you say that Relentless Beats and the way that you produce and promote festivals is different from the other people that are doing it?
In Arizona, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interest of many to produce electronic music events now. So we're all in, and it's all we do, and we'll produce 200 and probably 50 events this year of electronic music. So, I guess the only thing that's different about it is that the love and enthusiasm that goes into it from all of our employees. They all started with a love for electronic music. None of them just came to the company and just wanted a job. The whole entire staff is built from within, and so there's a lot of love in these events. And so I think that we envision ourselves as sort of the communal leaders of the electronic music scene in Arizona. But as far as what everybody else is doing, I mean, it does nothing but contribute to the time that our fans have each and every weekend. There's a lot of good venues to attend events in, and we. I don't know what separates us, except for I think that we just contribute our lives to it.
Great. I definitely see how the care and the organization that you put into all the productions produces the level of professionalism that we see at all these festivals. Like when I went to Phoenix Lights, I enjoyed myself. I felt safe. Everything went smooth. And I expect the same from all the other concerts that Relentless Beats puts on. And that's like a good feeling. Like I'm excited to go to anything that you guys put together. And I feel like that's kind of what the Relentless Beats name stands for, is like good festivals these days.
It's definitely always the goal. This year at Decadence, we had some overcrowding in our main tent, and a lot of that had to do with the weather doing what it did the week of. It got really cold, and then it rained, and we invested a lot of money in rides and an outdoor area that we thought would be inhabited by a certain amount of persons that would be an offset to our stage capacities. And because it was so cold and so many people really wanted to congregate at the main stage, and that main stage not having a couple exits towards the front, it made the back very congested, and I walked back there myself, and it was just a little much. So I think that's the biggest thing that I'm going to learn this year. That's not going to happen again. But producing quality, making people happy, and garnering good feedback so people have confidence and feel confident attending these events and recommending to their friends that it's a good thing to attend is what's most important to us.
Great.
What would you consider the most underrated or underappreciated job at a festival is? Like, who's the person that doesn't get any recognition that you think, deserves that recognition?
The people that make sure you're hydrated.
The water bottle.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, the Rangers need recognition because they're out there hustling and watching what's most important to us, which is our fans. But then up to including the security guards and man, the box office staff has it rough. Everybody's up there and nothing works perfect. So you've got people up there screaming and hollering about issues that they're having obtaining their tickets. And, you've got the production managers, the guys who work on the event for many months and then work countless hours in and around the event to make sure everything's set up and produced correctly. Then you've got lead team who gets very, very little sleep many times a year, work countless weekends, and really dedicate themselves selflessly to this job and the company.
Talking about all that hard work that goes into making a festival happen brings to mind a really popular topic in my mind. I just watched the Fire Festival documentary.
I gotta watch that
on Netflix. You haven't watched it?
I haven't watched that.
I'll tell you, especially since you've produced festivals, you're gonna have a heart attack while watching. It's so good.
You have a long flight tomorrow, and I was telling my wife that we gotta watch it.
It's really good, but it's like you don't know why they kept going and what really. It's insane. That's what I will say. It's insane.
I was wondering that. I was like, the amount of money they lost, everything that happened. I was like, there has to be clearly a point a long time before they
there
was
was
people there with nowhere to stay.
I thought it was
that they should pull the cord.
There was.
There definitely is. You see it happen. It's thrilling that everything seems to be going smooth as butter, but one by one things start to go against Billy, the guy who designed the festival. Things start going against him. Well, that's all we've got for you. Is there anything you want to add while we still got you on the air?
No, I don't think so. Thanks for having me today, guys.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming down here today.
Anytime.
All right. That'll do it for the interview. You heard it here first. Make sure you go to Crush Valentine's Day weekend. You can get your tickets online. Look all that up. You can look at the lineup. Said one of their best ever, so you don't want to miss that. But you've been listening to Blaze Radio Online, and we will see you guys next time.